Okay, so now we're going to discuss having an annuity, just your standard ordinary annuity, where you're making per period payments. And if you're making per period payments, it's a negative because it's an outflow of money from you. So we had this happening every time period. And that's T0, that's T1, that's T2, etc., etc. This is Tn minus 1 and Tn. And the present value is whatever your present value of your loan was. And this is your future value, which is equal to 0 because you're paying it off. Now we're going to consider the case where they will have a batch of missed payments. And we're just going to look at, a simple case where it's just a batch of missed payments, not like in millions of different places and so on. And let's just say we have T7, T8, and T9. That's missed, which means instead of the PMT, we have 0 being paid in there. Now we're going to look at how do we make it right. And we're going to look at the situation where we're going to make a lump sum payment to pay off the missed payments of the loan. So what we're going to consider is we're actually going to consider it almost like a secondary loan. So at T7, we get a loan value of PMT plus. So it's almost like we're taking out a secondary loan to pay off the original loan, the original annuity. And at T8, we get a payment as well. And at T9, we get a payment. So we get a loan, as we're supposed to be making off those payments, and you can visualize it as almost like you getting a loan from someone to make a payment into your annuity account. And then you obviously have interest going to be building on that secondary loan. Now you can see a structure which is very similar to your ordinary annuity, but you're missing some stuff because your ordinary annuity starts the month before you start getting payments or making payments. So you're going to need a T6 value. And the present value at T6, because this is a whole new fresh loan, it's a secondary loan, you don't owe anything to anyone at that moment in time. You start owing them at T7 and it increases at T8 and it increases at T9. So that's the kind of structure that you will have. But now you're going to pay it off. So pay off the secondary loan and I just want to use a different color here to show you the full scope of this. You are going to let the interest build and pay it off at Tn. So from T9 to Tn is just a standard loan where interest builds. So interest is building. So that's almost like just a standard loan with no payments occurring. So interest is just slowly building up. And then you're going to want to know what is the future value at Tn. So you can make a lump sum payment for this loan. So you have your T7, T8, and T9 as a payment that you don't make. Your approach to paying off this is making a lump sum at the end of your annuity. And you can see the missed payments as a secondary loan that is building parallel to your original annuity. That's that T7, T8, and T9 is where you get the money for that loan, and it starts at T6. But then from T9 to Tn, it's just going to build interest. So you're not making any payments. It's no longer annuity. It's just, compounded interest. So you will need to know the future value at T9 so it can be used as the present value for the blue part of T9. So from T9 onwards, you are going to just have your standard compounded interest. So let's do an example. A loan of 8,000 Rand was secured at an interest rate of 10% per annum compounded monthly. The loan is said to be repaid in 20 equal monthly payments of 443 Rand and 32 cents. And assuming the 10th, 11th, 12th, and 13th payments were missed, assume the missed payments will be repaid at the end. What is the lump sum payment? So let's draw a graph first. So we're going to draw a graph with our annuity in green, just to, keep a link to what I just explained without any word problems. So we have T0, and then we're going to have a T1. We have a payment being made. So it's a payment being made, so it's an outflow of money, so it's a negative. We have a present value to begin with of 8,000, and that's an inflow of money, so it's a positive. At T2, we have the same kind of thing happening, the payment, which is negative, and this is going to continue. So we're going to, have that continue all the way through to T20, where we have a payment, and it's negative, and the one before, just for consistency's sake, it's negative, and T19. And here we have our future values equal to 0. So that is the annuity that we discuss here. Now we're going to add in the fact that T11, 10, 11, 12, and 13 is missed. So T10, T11, T12, and T13 are going to be missed. And we are going to consider the missed payments as a secondary loan running parallel to the annuity. So let's just move our screen quick so that we can just see this. We're going to have a loan forming here at T10, T11, T12, and T13, where at T10, we're going to get given the monthly payment to pay off the original annuity. That's why it's running parallel and the original annuity is not affected. Then we're going to get a payment at T11 again to pay off. And the last one there to pay off. Now, if you just look at that yellow part at that diagram, it looks kind of like an ordinary annuity, except it's missing some information. So the information it's missing is the T9, because you need one period before you start making your payments or getting your payments. And at that one period, we don't owe anything because it's a new loan. So PV is equal to 0. Then you have the process of what's going to happen is from T13 all the way to T20, interest is just going to build on this loan. So it's going to have no payments occurring. So this is just going to be a normal compounded interest. Okay, so we have our annuity for part 1. Let's write part 1 here. And then we have normal compounded interest for part 2. Now let's fill in the information we need for part 1 so that we can get the information we need for part 2. But before we do that, let's just acknowledge that there will be a future value here, and that future value is going to be what we owe. And the present value for this one at T13 is equal to the future value at T13 from that one. So that goes down to here. Let's just clean that up. There we go. So let's go and write down all the information for part 1. So the information for part 1 is we have a present value of equal to 0. We have IY is equal to 10. Where is this coming from? Let's just zoom up. Let's just bring the words there quick. See there, 10% per annum compounded monthly. That's what we're referring to. And let's just move those words back and put everything back into place. Okay, so we have CY is equal to 12 and PY is equal to 12 because it's compounded monthly and we're making monthly payments. Our N is 13 minus 9. Where is that coming from? It's coming from here. We take the 13 minus the 9. And then our PMT is equal to 443 point. And let's just go back to our wording so we can see what's happening there. It is 443.32. And let's go back up. So now we have that 443.32. And from here, we can work out the future value. Now, if you're unclear on how to work out the future value for deferred annuities on your financial calculator, I suggest you go back to the video where it's discussed. But what we're going to do now is we're going to just give you the answer. And this answer is 1795.57. Now, if you do this on your financial calculator, it's going to come up as negative because you owe that money and that's what you're supposed to be paying off. And what you're going to do is you're going to store it on your calculator so you can use it in part 2. So remember, you always store it on your calculator. You don't just plug it in to use in part 2. And you're going to acknowledge that if it came up in your calculator negative and you need it as a positive value in part 2, you use the plus minus before you recall it. Right, so let's discuss part 2. So part 2's information is n is going to be equal to 20 minus the 13. Okay, so 20 minus the 13, which is going to give us 7. Our IY stays the same. There are situations where it can change, but for us it stays the same. Our CY is equal to our PY, which is equal to 12. And our PMT is equal to 0. What else are we missing? Oh yes, the present value, which is going to be the 1795.57. But once again, you're going to use your button to recall it. You're not just going to type it in. And you're going to make sure that the signage is correct. So in our case, we would want our present value to be positive because it's seen as money we have. And then later on, it goes down to negative because we are, paying it off. And if we go ahead and just work this out now, we are going to get a future value is equal to 1902.97. And if you did your present value as positive on your financial calculator, that would be negative on your financial calculator. But all that's saying is that that's what you owe to pay, and that's what you need to pay off. So you're going to make a lump sum payment at the end of T20 of 1902.97. And your annuity, your original annuity, is just going to run as is. So as if it wasn't affected. It's just parallel loans occurring here. Yeah.